A native of Bavaria, Germany, being ordained by His Excellency on May the 13th, 2006, Father Heyne comes from Mary Immaculate Conception Church in the suburbs of Munich. He gave me the German of that, and I hesitate to even try it. Maria unbefleckte Empfängnis. Father, as well as being pastor of that parish, of that church, and growing it, he goes throughout Germany on mission and throughout Europe, Switzerland, Czech Republic, among other places. We are most happy that he was able to come and be a special part of this year's conference. I would like to please ask you to welcome to the lectern Father Johannes Heyne. Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, dear friends, like Father Naya just said, I'm from Germany. My name is Father Heyne, and I was ordained in 2006 by His Excellency after I studied in his seminary. And as I told some of you already, last time I was here, that's over 20 years ago, when I was still a seminarian. The bishop had us drive up here twice, which was really nice for me. I got to see the whole country, or the western part of the northwestern part of the country, I guess, with some of the fellow seminarians, Father Gilchrist, Father Kronenthal, Father Truff, Father Welp, and there are those who were seminarians back then. And it was really nice for me because I got to see a lot of places and got to see a lot of people. So now it's a really special thing for me to be here now and even give a talk or even give the keynote address. And I would like to thank Father Benedict for the invitation. Now the theme for this conference is, as you know, Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum. And we know these are the words that the angel spoke to Our Lady when he came to her and asked for her yes to be the Mother of God. And as it is also written in the program, gratia plena, Our Lady was full of grace because she was never under the dominion of the devil. And Our Lady, she gave her, yes, she said, the fiat, be done unto me according to thy word, when the angel came to her. And she kept up this agreement, this agreeing her whole life. And especially in the hardest hour, I guess, when she stood underneath the cross. When we did our last pilgrimage to Altötting, a place that I will show you here in my speech, Since I think 4 or 5 years, one of our men, Marcel, he is one of the men who is here also, organizes once a year a pilgrimage, 2 days, walking to Altötting. And we did this again this year. And it occurred to me, when you've been to Germany, you often pass by wayside shrines and crosses. And I noticed how often underneath those crosses there's Our Lady. And it kind of struck me that this is very meaningful, because it shows that Our Lady also gave her yes to her son being the sacrifice for the salvation of the world. And she understood what her son was doing. She understood that he is about to give his life for the salvation of mankind. So she also said, yes, I give my son, although this was a very great sacrifice for her as well. She said her yes again and gave her son as a sacrifice so we could be saved. And this is basically her great role that she played. And this is something why we honor her. Because, of course, she was the Mother of God, but also because she agreed to this role. And it wasn't an easy life. It was not an easy role that she played. And that's why we honor her. That's why she is the Queen of all saints, Queen of martyrs. And also that's why we take refuge to her, because she wants the salvation of her son be fruitful to as many souls as possible. And this is those are kind of the 2 points that I would like to maybe again and again here point out. And this is supposed to be the underlying message or the underlying thought of everything I would like to introduce to you here and show you here. And I don't want to give a history lesson or a lesson in geography, but I thought it would be a nice idea to show you the history of this veneration of Our Lady in Bavaria, where I come from. And before I start, I also would like to give credit to one of my parishioners at home. He is a history student or historian, Christian Schumacher. He helped me he gave me a lot of information for this talk, and also when we sit together, we often talk about history. I'm not very good in history, to be honest, because I keep forgetting the dates and stuff, but I enjoy it. And so I hope I get things straight here. I keep it to the basics. But as I said, it's not supposed to be a historical lesson here. It's more to see the 2 things. One, how old the veneration of Our Lady is already. And secondly, that great devotion that our forefathers had to her. And this can be very inspiring. Bavaria, not only because I come from Bavaria, but because it's one of the places where Catholicism was kept in Germany, and also where the veneration of and devotion to Our Lady was always kept very, very strong, as you will see. I start with this picture. I will come back to it again. This is, as you can recognize, hopefully this is Our Lady. It is at the, I will say to this more later, it's at the west facade of the residence, the government building in Munich, where the Duke of Munich lived. And we see her here as the woman from the Apocalypse, like so often as you will see here in this talk. The woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars. There's a net in front of it because so the pigeons don't make it dirty. But you see her with the moon underneath her foot, and you see her as queen with the crown, with a scepter in her hand, and with her son, the Son of God, in her arm. He is holding the globe in his hand to show that he is the king of the world. But I will say more to this later. And here again, this is a bigger picture of the whole thing. On the very top, it's hard to read. On the very top, it says, sub tuum presidium confugimus, sub quo secure letique degimus. So under your protection we flee, under which protection we live securely and happily. So there you see already the how human beings, or how Christians, always took refuge to Our Lady. So now to begin with, as I said, this is about the devotion of Our Lady in Bavaria. Just very briefly, so you remember where exactly we are talking about. This is a map of Europe, and in the middle, the blue thing, that's Germany. And if we, or greenish, bluish, if we kind of scroll in a little bit, this is Bavaria. On the right bottom, you see the one bigger red point, that's Munich. This is where I'm from. And this is the capital of Bavaria. Bavaria is today, politically, it's one country of Germany, but it used to be a dukedom and later a kingdom. So this is what we are talking about here, this little section actually of Europe. The Christianization of Bavaria was pretty early because, as you remember, the Roman Empire, Father Benedict mentioned the Roman Empire before in his talk. The Roman Empire was to the left of Germany. The Rhine River was kind of the border. So France was part of the Roman Empire. And then Germany the Romans couldn't get into Germany. But at the south of Germany, this was part of the Roman Empire up to the Danube River that you can see here. This is the Danube River, flows through Ulm, where Father Rissling comes from, by the way. He had the keynote last year. So this is the Danube River, comes out of here Baden-Württemberg, and then goes down through Regensburg. Regensburg will also be mentioned today, and goes down to Passau towards Vienna, Budapest, and then into the Black Sea. So this vaguely was kind of the northern border here in Germany, the northern border of the Roman Empire. So we are here, and for example in Rosenheim you still see old traces of the Romans. They came across the Alps here, and lived also here in southern Bavaria. So that's why Bavaria, the Christianization took place very early, because merchants and soldiers brought the faith to Bavaria. And until the 4th century, many Bavarians were already Christians. And then we had what also Father Benedict mentioned before, the traveling, the migration of the tribes, of the peoples in the 5th and 6th century. And the first Bavarian duke in 530, he led or called the Iro-Frankish missionaries, from whom you might have heard already as well. We have this wave of those Irish people coming from Ireland. The first wave went to Paris, kind of to France, and then the second wave made it all the way over to here, to southern Germany. The Irish missionaries, or Irish Frankish missionaries. And they also, they brought the faith, and the Bavarian Duke called them because he wanted the faith re-established after this chaos of the migration of the peoples. And so here in Munich, will be important for us here in Munich. To Munich came Saint Corban. I remember in Omaha there was one family, their son was called Corban. And in Bavaria it's also a very common name, Corbinian, because he is kind of a local saint. And he came to Freising, which is near Munich, in 724. And he founded a bishopric there. And this is the origin of our archdiocese today, of München-Freising, Munich, Freising. Freising is here. So these two cities they make up the diocese, the archdiocese, or the seat of the bishop of the archdiocese of München-Freising. And Saint Corban, he built a church in Freising, and he already consecrated it under the title of the Nativity of Our Lady. There we already see that those Irish monks, they already brought the veneration of Our Lady. This is the cathedral of Freising today. This was built later in 1159. Here you see the inside of this cathedral today. As I said, it's not the original one, but it's basically at the place of the original one. Now, if we look up to the picture, if we zoom into the picture, this is the picture that is up at the altar. If I can make it bigger. How do I go back to what I had before? It's not like I have seminarians like Father Benedict, that's why I'm not so professional here. Father, how do I get back to the escape? Okay. Yeah. Okay, because now I can zoom in a little bit. So you see, there's a very nice picture, Baroque. You see Our Lady. She is stepping on the serpent, like it says in the Proto-Evangelium. She will crush her head. You also see the crescent, the moon underneath her feet, again. You see how she is clothed in the sun. It's also very nice, the sun behind her. And you see, of course, Jesus Christ in her hands. And then you see how she triumphs over the dragon with the help of Saint Michael as well. So this is here, the devil is thrown into, this is the big battle that is seen by Saint John, I guess. Okay, so this is the Cathedral of München-Freising today. And another one of those missionaries who came from Ireland was Saint Willibald. He started a church in Eichstätt. This is also Freising here. This is the foundation of the church underneath the church, and here is the shrine where the relics of Saint Corbin are kept in Freising. As I said, he started at the bishopric in 724, so we have the 1300th anniversary this year for our archdiocese. And then also, as I said, an example would be St. Willibald. He went to Eichstätt, which is also in Bavaria, a little bit north. This is Eichstätt, what he started. Or we have St. Rupert, for example. He died in 718, around that time as well. He founded the convent in Salzburg, the convent that you all know from the Sound of Music, where Mrs. von Trapp went to be a postulant until she was called to help out Mr. von Trapp. And one of the reasons, and we see this veneration that those missionaries brought, first of all, for example, by the title they gave to those churches, and also that the veneration of Our Lady was very popular, or was very spread amongst the monks. And they came, as I said, from Ireland, and they also brought this veneration and devotion to Our Lady. Then in Regensburg, we also have Saint Rupert. He also built a chapel in honor of Our Lady in Regensburg. So this is again Eichstätt from inside. This is Regensburg now. Regensburg, which I showed you before, this is at the Danube River. This is the inside of the cathedral or the church in Regensburg. That also originates from this time. They also keep there in the side chapel an old picture of Our Lady that also shows you how old the whole devotion to Our Lady is, the veneration of Our Lady. This is a picture that goes back to the Byzantine times, and it was given by Henry II. Or it was given to Henry II, the saint emperor that we have. He's buried in Bamberg, and this picture was given to him by Pope Boniface VIII. So now during the Middle Ages, as I said, we are now in the time like the 700s, the beginning of the Middle Ages, and then we cross through the Middle Ages, and many pilgrim places were founded in Bavaria during this time of the Middle Ages. Like now, for example, here in the 1400s, we have Tuntenhausen. This is a pilgrim place not too far from where I live. This is the inside. There you see the behind the candle in the middle. There's a statue of Our Lady that is here venerated, or that people pray for help to. This is a little closer up. This is Our Lady. This is a shrine of Our Lady, a pilgrim shrine of Our Lady. Or we have Altötting, also from the 15th century. This is Altötting. This is something many of you might have heard already. This is a very famous pilgrim shrine in Bavaria. I will say to this more later. This is inside. This is also something that many of you might have seen already, this miraculous statue of Our Lady. Or, for example, we have Ettal in the late 15th century. So these are things where you see how this devotion to Our Lady was kept throughout the Middle Ages, from the time of those missionaries who brought rebuilt the faith in Bavaria throughout the centuries here through the Middle Ages. This is an old picture of Ettal from the 1600s. And this is inside. This church is dedicated to the Assumption of Our Lady. And again, you have this miraculous statue of Our Lady in there. Then from the monasteries, the veneration of Our Lady also came into the cities. So for example, we have like Munich, where I come from. This is my church. No, just kidding. This is the this is the Cathedral of Munich. I'm like half an hour south of Munich. And this is the Cathedral of Munich, also under the title of Our Lady. This is a very famous picture of Munich, the symbol of Munich, those two towers with the round top. This is inside, that was in the 16th century. And today it's very plain, but you still see the length. Also that Father Benedict mentioned with the architecture, that they were able to do this, it seems so light, and running up into heaven. Or we have, for example, Nuremberg or Würzburg, other places where devotion to Our Lady was also brought into the city. Also in the 15th century, in the same time, in the end of the Middle Ages, mostly through the Dominicans, the rosary was promulgated and spread in Bavaria. This will be also interesting further on here in the talk. And it became the prayer of the people, the rosary in Bavaria. As you know, Luther and the Reformation that happened then in the 16th century, especially in Germany, he rejected the rosary, but that caused in Bavaria a counter movement. So the rosary became even stronger through this attack through Luther. And now we come to the Counter-Reformation. The Counter-Reformation is a movement that is, as the name already says, a movement against the Reformation. There was the Reformation, and afterwards, Catholics tried to reinforce or re-establish and re-spread the Catholic faith, especially through the Jesuits. And also the veneration of Our Lady was strengthened by the Jesuits, but also by the Bavarian dukes. Bavaria was the only country where already in 1522 Protestantism was forbidden, and where they stood up against Protestantism. And empty monasteries were filled again with monks from Italy or Spain. And Bavaria stood for the Church and for Rome. And up to the 20th century, Bavaria was basically a foundation and a stronghold for the Pope in Germany. And from here, this counter-reformation, this movement again against the Protestantism, was organized by the Jesuits. Duke Albrecht V, he had called them to Bavaria in 1559. And for the same end, by the way, the Capuchins, the Franciscans, were also called to Bavaria. And this is now the Baroque era that we enter into. You might know the Baroque era is very elaborate, very glorious. And in the Baroque era, the people tried to show, the artists and the church tried to show the people the joy and the beauty of the faith again after the Reformation. And so they tried to show them the beauty of the Catholic faith. And again, the veneration of Our Lady became very strong. And one duke especially made Bavaria a country of Our Lady, that was Duke Maximilian I. And he's very important for Munich, as you will see now in the following pictures. Maximilian I, this duke, His reign started in 1596. He was well learned and full of devotion to Our Lady. And Our Lady was in the center of his religious politics. And right after his inauguration, he made several pilgrimages to Our Lady of Altötting, whose picture we saw before. In 1616, he attached a statue of Our Lady on the west front of his residence in Munich and consecrated his house and his country to the mildest mistress of Bavaria and most powerful protectress. So this was then the picture that we saw before, that was built or put up here by this Duke Maximilian I in the 17th century. And the nice thing, again, as I said before, I mean, this is not supposed to be a history class, but we see how he devoted his whole life, his house, and also his country to Our Lady. And now we see her here, as I said before, as the queen with the crown, with the scepter, and with our Lord in her arms, with the globe of the world in his hands as the king of the world. And since the time of this duke, there is a little candle down here. So this is in Munich, in one of the main squares. This is through the house, as I said, where the duke used to live. Here, down here, you see a little candle, a little holy sanctuary candle. And this is burning with little interruptions, burning there since the 17th century. As a reminder that Our Lady is always the protectress of Bavaria. And up here, as I said before, there's this nice dedication that he puts his country under the protection of Our Lady, sub tuum praesidium confugimus, under your protection, under your protection we flee. And since this time, Our Lady is also venerated as the Patrona Bavariae. This is written here. It's hard to see. Maybe here's a little bit better. You see Patrona Bavariae, the patron of Bavaria. This is a big title of Our Lady in Bavaria. And he had a great devotion, as I said, to Our Lady, and in order to implant it into his subjects, into his people, he also recommended them to also attach a statue of Our Lady at their houses that you can partly still see today, at least what was not destroyed during the Second World War. So today even you see those little, here in Munich, those little statues of Our Lady that are here attached to the walls of the houses. And what I liked about this is that shows you how he was able to implant into his people also this love and devotion to Our Lady. And it shows you how much trust the people put in her. And as I said, this is actually the purpose of this talk, to be inspired by this devotion of the people through the ages. Here again, a little statue of Our Lady, or this one, or here. So you see this here. Here it says also Patrona Bavariae underneath. Okay. And he also made a rosary decree in the 1640s. Every citizen of Bavaria was supposed to always carry a rosary with him. And this is something he told his people. And he also visited. He went to mass every day, and he also prayed the rosary, of course. Now, in 1632, during the 30 Years' War, you know, the 30 Years' War was from 1618 till 1648, basically between the Catholics and the Protestants, and had also political reasons, of course. And also Munich was the Swedes, people from Sweden, the army from Sweden, also stood before the gates of Munich. So Maximilian, the Duke, he went to Altötting, the shrine of Our Lady, and he vowed to Our Lady to build a monument in her honor in Munich if the city was spared. The Swedes did occupy the city, but they did not destroy it like they used to do. And when they left in 1634, like two or 3 years later, they left, and Maximilian fulfilled his vow that he would build Our Lady a monument in Munich. And this is what you see here. After 4 years of work in 1638, a column in honor of Our Lady was consecrated. Again, Our Lady from the Apocalypse. So this is an old picture here from that time, from 1656. The 30 Years' War had just been over. Munich was spared, so he puts up this column in honor of Our Lady. There's a column here. You see the two towers of the Cathedral of Munich. And this is the famous square that we will hear about again later. And here you put up this column, and on top, this is Our Lady, again with the moon underneath her feet, and with the crown on her head. And he wrote on there, Rem, Regem, Regimen, Regionem, Religionem, Conserva Bavaris, Virgo Patrona, Tuis. So the things, Rem, Regem, the king, the regimen, the government, regionem, the country, the region, and religionem, the religion, preserve, or O Virgin, patron, your Bavarians. So again, he dedicated and he put his people, his country, under the protection of Our Lady. And following this example, you see also in other cities, in the center of the city, on a main square, a column of Our Lady. For example, in Prague, if you go to Prague, there's also a column of Our Lady on the old square. So here, as I said, you see the column pretty soon after it was erected. Then this is in 1870. It's interesting, here you already see a fence around that column, where those ladies here kneel. There's a fence going around because the area around that column was consecrated, so it was kind of consecrated ground, so people shouldn't step on it. And you see the column, Our Lady, the two towers of Munich. And here those figures, they symbolize, I think, war, hunger, fire, the plague. So those are kind of the things that Our Lady may protect us from. This is today. This is the old mayor house, the old city hall of Munich. And here's the Marienplatz, the Mary Square of Munich. And here's a little detail of Our Lady on top of the statue. After the death of this duke, after the death of Maximilian, they found a little box in Altötting with a paper inside where Maximilian had written down a promise. And in this promise he recommends himself as a servant, his house, his people, to his Heavenly Mother. And he signed this with his own blood. You can still see this in Altötting. And I found this interesting because he gives himself to Our Lady as servant. And this was, by the way, the same time when Mary de Montfort lived. He lived around 1700. He was born in 1673, so around that time. And this word, giving himself to Our Lady as servant, reminds us a lot of the true devotion of Our Lady. As a little side note here to this Duke and this feast and the title of Patrona Bavariae, patron of Bavaria, 300 years later, our last king, the last king of Bavaria, Ludwig III, he was a cousin of Ludwig II. Ludwig II, you all know, he built the Neuschwanstein Castle that you all know, that looks like the Walt Disney Castle. So his cousin, Ludwig III, our last king, during World War I, he asked Pope Benedict XV to officially declare Our Lady patron of Bavaria and to install a feast in her honor in Bavaria. So this was during the World War I. So in 1916, in the middle of the war, Benedict XV did that. He instituted a feast. It is a duplex first class, so the highest rank that we have. And it was first celebrated in May 14th, and later it was celebrated on the first Saturday in May. So until today we celebrate this feast in honor of Our Lady Patrona Bavariae, the patron of Bavaria. She has her own feast. In 1916 this feast was the first time celebrated in Munich, and the year after in all Bavarian dioceses. Okay, now we continue. Also in the 17th and 18th century, so after the Reformation, the pilgrimage of Our Lady became very big. And we have many new pilgrimage places, some smaller, some more known. For example, we have Maria Eich, this is one. This shows you, by the way, there are still a lot of people, although we basically lost the faith, but there's still this devotion to Our Lady still in the hearts of the people. People still go there and they put up candles or pray to Our Lady. This is inside Maria Eich, again, this statue of Our Lady where people pray to. This is when it's carried in procession, I assume, here on a little baldacchino. Or we have Birkenstein. This is pretty close to where I live. Birkenstein, the minor seminarians, I think, have been there when they came over to Europe last or 2 years ago. This is inside. Our Lady here. This is an old postcard from Birkenstein. And then we have here Maria Birnbaum, also a shrine of Our Lady. It's inside here. Or we have the Holy Mountain of Andex. It's called the Holy Mountain of Andex. Very good beer, by the way, too, there. Just as a side note. and here, this is the inside, Andex. This is all the, as you can tell, the Baroque era. And there you see Our Ladies there. Okay. And also, this was not only something people, the simple people did, also something the dukes and kings did. For example, when they entered the throne or for important decisions, etc., they went with the whole family and with the court to especially Tuntenhausen, which we saw before, or Altötting, which we see also later. And so in the 18th century, we had in Bavaria over 500 Marian pilgrimage sites, very spread over the whole country. And people would do May devotions and things like that. In the evening, people would go to the churches, to the altar of Our Lady, decorated with flowers in order to praise Our Lady and to pray to her. And sometimes also with candlelight processions. And now we come to the Enlightenment, and Father Benedict also mentioned before the Enlightenment in the 18th and 19th century. This time couldn't destroy the devotion to Our Lady of Bavaria, of the people of Bavaria. And even if many said, yeah, this is not up to date anymore, this is something we laugh about and stuff, the Bavarians remained children of their Heavenly Mother. There's one nice example, also very interesting, if you ever see Munich. In 1854, in the 19th century, the cholera broke out. And thousands of people died in a few weeks. So the magistrate of the city vowed solemnly and publicly to name the central square of the city of Munich after Our Lady. And shortly after, the plague subsided. And since then, the main square in Munich is called Marienplatz, square of Our Lady, which is very known from the Christmas markets and stuff like that. So this is the main square in Munich that we saw before. And since that time, since the 19th century, the middle of the 19th century, at this occasion, it's called Marienplatz. So you see, today we see these witnesses from old times, witnesses of our strong and living faith that expressed itself in those beautiful churches, in this beautiful architecture. A great devotion to Our Lady, a trust in Our Lady, a sign how people took refuge to Our Lady in different situations and different needs they had. And the different wayside shrines that you see, pilgrimage sites, statues and pictures on houses, etc. So we see here the faith that was so living back in those days. Now, a little bit closer look on Altötting. This is Altötting, as I said before, one of the biggest shrines or the most known shrines of Our Lady that we have in Bavaria. Probably already in the 8th century, around the time of those first missionaries from Ireland or from France, the old Bavarian dukes built a little chapel in honor of Our Lady here. And the core of the chapel today is still from this time. I think it's this back part here, this round thing. This is kind of the original part. And on top of this was built in the 15th century in the Gothic style. And in 1517, the roof over the walk around the chapel was added. That you don't see here, it's behind the trees. You see those cascaden here, where you can walk around the church. And even today, people have crosses that they carry around the chapel praying. And since the Middle Ages, this chapel is called the Gnadenkapelle, the Chapel of Graces. And the miraculous statue that is venerated got there in the 14th century. It is made of linden wood and came probably from Burgundy, where it was made in the 13th and 14th century by an unknown artist. So how did this start to be a pilgrim place? It was in 1489, in the 15th century, a 3-year-old boy fell into the creek in Altötting and drowned. And only his dead body could be saved. And the desperate mother of this boy took her dead child, went to the old chapel of Our Lady, put the child at the feet of the statue of Our Lady and implored her to give her back her son. And our Heavenly Mother heard her prayer, and shortly afterwards the boy was restored to life. And not long after, a 6-year-old boy got under a heavy wagon and was terribly crushed. And thanks to a vow to Our Lady of Altötting, he was miraculously restored to health. And so the news of this spread quickly, and soon all kinds of people made their way to the chapel with their problems, worries, sicknesses, etc. So in 1493, around 1500, Landshut, a city in Bavaria about 40 miles away from Altötting, organized a pilgrimage to Altötting by foot. And 1,500 people took place, which is a great number if we consider that Landshut had only a few thousand people. So 1,500 people made their way on foot to Altötting in 1500. So it was already there, a very big pilgrim site. And in 1498, the many miracles that happened there were investigated by a commission of the Archbishop of Salzburg and declared trustworthy. So pretty quickly, Altötting rose to be the biggest lady pilgrimage site of Germany and one of the biggest pilgrimage sites in Europe. Although it's not very tall, not very big, a small chapel, as you will see in a second, but it's very known and many people go there. And it's a very one of the biggest places next to Einsiedeln or Santiago, pilgrim places in Europe. And since that time, many people took their refuge to Our Lady there, also emperors and kings, and even Pope Pius VI, for example. And those people also told their story often, the story of their problems and of their healing, of the solving of the problems, on pictures that you still see around the walls of the chapel. The oldest one of them is from 1501. So this is now the place today. That's the chapel. This is the thing where you can walk around. You enter from this side here. This is Altötting in 1751. You still see that square here in the chapel. You already see this walk-around thing. And again here the Immaculate statue of Our Lady. Here this is the altar with the statue of Our Lady where people come and pray. Here you see many of the candles that are brought in procession often, or just in Thanksgiving, or in petition of some certain thing. Here you see those pictures. You know, all the whole walls are covered with those old pictures where people drew after they were hurt. They're called ex voto pictures. Ex voto because from a vow they made before that they would then donate a picture if their prayers were heard. So here's an example, for example, a more recent one. Or here's one from 1845. I guess somebody was going with his horse with sleds and something happened. I guess he lost control of the horses. Here's him with the reins. And then Our Lady helped him in this predicament. Or here, 1866, I guess, you know, again, somebody got underneath the sled, I guess, and Our Lady helped. So this is something where you see this this faith of the people over the centuries, and the how they called upon Our Lady for intercession, for her help in their needs. As we said, also for this great Duke, Maximilian I, Altötting was an important place. And because he wanted to be close to the shrine of Our Lady, that he visited many times during his life, also after his death, he ordered that his heart, after his death in 1651, be put there. And this is something you see here in those little boxes. That's the heart of Maximilian I. I assume on top this is a bust of this duke. And then after this, many Bavarian rulers followed this example. And today in the chapel, there are hearts of 1 emperor, 6 kings, 3 Bavarian princes, 11 princesses, 5 bishops, and 2 other noble people. Altogether, 28 hearts that you can see in those little, oh sorry, I thought I had more pictures of them. Anyways, in those little containers. And this is all because they wanted to be, even when they are dead, close to here, Our Lady. I would like to conclude, or almost conclude. Now this is here in the last picture of Altötting. This is the chapel. This is the pilgrimage that we did this year. As I said, this was the 5th year, I think, that Marcel organized this year. One last year, somebody built a little carrying thing for Our Lady that I think similar to what you have here for the procession that we will do here. This year, the new addition was a flag of Our Lady here. And we actually had 5 Americans with us this year. 4 of them are living in Europe. 3 of them are actually married to Europeans, Germans and Austrians. And 1 was visiting for this occasion. And so this is a very nice occasion. If you ever want to see Germany, this is a nice time to come and join us for this pilgrimage. It's a nice walk, and we pray during the pilgrimage. It's 2 days, and then we end up here at this shrine of Our Lady. Okay, as I said, the purpose of this whole talk was to maybe see this devotion of the people to Our Lady, the fervor that they had, and be enkindled by this inheritance that we all have. This is we are one mystical body, as we know, the Catholic Church, mystical body of Christ, and we would like to be enkindled by this example, by this good example that they gave us, and also to see how they saw Our Lady as this queen, because she is the Mother of God, and because she also agreed to her suffering that she endured by also giving up her son, and that she kept up this promise that he gave our Lord to the angel when the angel came to her, and she said, "Fiat, be it done unto me according to thy word." She kept up this promise and lived according to it. And this is something we also ask her to keep our promise that we also gave to our Lord at our baptism, that we keep our baptismal promise and we live according to it. And this brings us back to the motto of this Fatima conference, Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum. Those are words that are prayed by all those people here through the centuries. And they use the same words to call upon her, to praise her as the Mother of God, as the one full of grace, the one never under the dominion of the devil, and then ask her in all her needs. And I would like to conclude with a verse of the hymn of Bavaria. We have a hymn for Bavaria, and the 3rd verse of this hymn is dedicated to Our Lady. It says, "Holy Virgin, blessed Mother of God, Queen, be our mother and helper at the throne of the Father of the world. Our pious ancestors placed the protection of Bavaria in your hand, who gave birth to salvation to the world, protect our fatherland. So this is something, a thought that I would like to conclude here with, that we always take her as the patron of our lives as well. The Immaculate Conception is also the patroness of the United States, as far as I know. And like those people back then, put ourselves under her protection and ask her to guide us and to protect us, since we take her as our mother, as our queen, as our mistress, and put ourselves under her as her slaves. So this was basically it.